The University of Sunderland and Northumbria Police have had a long-standing collaborative relationship. So we were approached by partners, the Sexual Assault Referral Centre manager, Michelle Sheridan. She wanted something that was a bit more innovative and attractive to a student. So we came to the decision to create films that allowed the students to look at different behaviours to do with lots of different issues that the police force are tackling every day.
We came up with this idea of using media and short films to create these films that are shared right across the country. I think sometimes people can find the subject matter and the films difficult to watch, yet they do challenge in the most effective way the difficulties that we face in talking about and you know, whether that's in the criminal justice system, whether it's in a healthcare profession, it's a great way to be able to educate people.
Are you ready to go yet?
No, she's fine.
When we're given the brief by the client the client then debriefs us. So the client would debrief all the students together about what's happening. They'll run a workshop session, and as they run the workshop session, they'll allow students to ask questions. They'll say, because it's a sensitive issue, do you want to go out, do you want to step in, all these different stuff. So there's a lot of safeguarding that goes on as they talk about the issue. And then after that, they're there at any point in time during the production for the students to contact and talk to. And plus, we also run other kinds of safeguarding and things along the side of the module as things are taking place.
Edge delivered a 3-hour training session to the students who were all taking part in the film, both behind the camera and on the camera. They heard real life stories included in that training so that they could really hear from young people what their experience was like. We were on the other end of emails for them and phone calls for them. Quite often they were ringing up or emailing, asking for further advice.
We present the issue and it's up to them and their own imaginations as to where they take it. They'll have a series of briefs and points they have to hit in the film, and that's always fed between ourselves and the clients because they have to make a pitch to the client. Once they agree the story, they'll pitch it, the client will say no, yes, tweak this, tweak that. They'll then go away, and even when they shoot it, they have to do a rough assembly to screen to the client for the client to feed back on them.
The project was really good, it was really exciting, it was an opportunity for us to get involved, to do something different, step outside of work and work with Sunderland University and the students.
I was quite blown away when I very first saw the films. I mean, we inputted, but to be honest, the work and the knowledge that they had around it was tweaking rather than a big input in it.
For a lot of us, it was the first time that we'd sort of worked with a film crew because we'd predominantly done live theatre as opposed to film work previously. We were given a lot of background information on the topic of county lines and sort of the impact that that would have, and then more specifically how that would impact my specific character within the piece.
County lines is the movement of drugs from one area to the other, and it is done by using young people and vulnerable adults, and quite often they're exposed to violence, sexual violence, gangs, weapons, whilst in the process of being groomed and exploited into county lines.
I learnt a lot more about how to get in, like not about getting into character, but it was more about doing that research on how people suffered during county lines. So I would never want someone in that situation, but the experience it was heartbreaking, but it was absolutely fantastic at the same time.
Personally, I'd never done anything like this before, and they gave us sort of like a theme that was, I've had like friends who had similar experiences, and I knew that it was a very sensitive topic because it was peer and peer abuse, because you have to get in that way of thinking, and like it can go to very dark places as well.
So it was probably the first time we kind of got to collaborate with media students, like officially within the actual course. So it was really nice to sort of make those connections with media students, because since graduating, actually some of those connections have sort of stuck, and we have worked with them since.
When I watched it, I was shocked how like the quality, and you could tell how much love they put into this, like the written of the script, the editing. It was fantastic. I was actually really shocked how well it was put together.
For our students, it's a really good opportunity to work to a live brief, a brief set by a client But also for our university, it just demonstrates that our society-shaping ambition is a reality. In other words, we are doing work through our students and staff that's making a difference in the city, in South Tyneside, and in the wider northeast of England.
The partnership became involved in this project due to the fact that part of our role is around prevention. Peer-on-peer abuse, sexual violence and harassment has been a national topic of interest, and obviously we wanted to bring those key messages down to the ground level with young people.
I told them I shared pictures and I wanted to see, so I showed them.
And you sent them out. Did they ask, or did you do it because you wanted to?
While we've been going along on the journey, it's quickly become apparent that obviously we know about the subject, but actually there's been some really good discussions outside of the making of the film. So in the support sessions that we've run, some really good discussions with students, with the lecturers who've been supporting the students around the topic, so that people have just learnt so much more. It's not just the film and that'll go out to kind of the schools and colleges, but it's that learning process that's occurred in the making of the films, and even before that when we set off with the creative briefs.
You had time to kind of mess about and have fun during your first 2 years, but this was the time when you really had to get serious. And the professionalism that I tried to foster during that production, I think I've carried with me since I've done my Masters, and through the projects I was doing through that. I think definitely a lot of the lessons I learned about, especially managing a team, I've carried on throughout all the other projects that I've done since.
The appeal of this module for a lot of students is twofold. I think the first appeal is that it's civic facing, so it has a real direct impact to the community and people of a community in regards to a different issue that's been addressed at that time. I think the second appeal is that the work allows students to work with a client in advance of graduation. So it goes beyond endpoint assessments. That's not to say they're not assessed for this work, they absolutely are, and we capture this work as part of the assessment, but it goes beyond that. It goes to them working in an industry environment on an industry-based brief.
Couldn't just write whatever we wanted and film whatever we wanted. We had to think about the target audience and what the client wanted. So it was really just going back to the brief, screening to the client and listening to what they had to say about the film and trying to make those changes so that we could work for them. And yeah, it was a very interesting process because it's not something that we'd done before, and we wanted to create something that the client could then use themselves. So that was really important that we do that justice. A number of my own life experiences did make their way into the script. It came from thinking about how I came out, the backlash that I received, just thinking about what support I needed and what support I know my friends needed and what some of them were lucky to receive, but many of us unfortunately are not lucky to receive that support.
We learn how to be more professional, how to talk with a client, how to pitch our ideas, the feedback, and not to do the film that we want, as we are always doing, to do in the film that someone wants, someone is asking, someone needs. It feels like we are not childs anymore playing with our cameras. This is real, and we, as final year students, feels really real.
The most important piece of advice I'd give to someone who's about to embark on this project would probably be to take your time. This is the sort of project that you want to rush into and you want to just spark off ideas and get going. But because it is for a client and because it is invariably about a social issue, an issue that is going to affect a lot of people, you need to be careful about how you're going to approach it and really think about what the message is that you want to say. But alongside that, it's a great opportunity, so make the most of it.
You really do have to take your hat off to the students for being able to address such very difficult and sensitive subjects. I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, that the issues that they cover would be difficult for very experienced professionals within the industry, and yet within a very short space of time, the students year after year come up with very, very effective films.
I believe the projects are incredibly valuable. I think they have a really clear graduate output in terms of their experience of an industry in advance of graduation. And I wholeheartedly believe this makes it a very unique offer for the students because they're working on something that has a place in the real world, and I think that's really, really important.
But when they've got a project like this, they can focus in, they can gear, and they can go straight and direct. And they just shine, they absolutely just shine. And I think that's extremely important, to know that the outside world is looking in, and I'm going to be rewarded when they look in. It's a great motivator.